Classic.
Class. We're recording and we're live. I messed up the cadence of that again, Matthew. Welcome
At
back.
least you realize this time.
Yeah. The UX flow out of that. You're going from browser back to Zoom. You hit go in the browser, it goes live in Zoom. Little intricacies of the behind the scenes here at TFTC. Yeah. Didn't hit record first like I promised I would last week.
No one's surprised, Marty.
No. You're surprised the mempools are still empty. Let's discuss.
Are we ever going to have a fee market? Is this okay?
I think so. I think we will. I don't know. Is this okay? I guess that's the better discussion to have right now. Is this okay? Should Bitcoin have more activity on Thursday, June 17th, 2021?
I mean, I'm not going to be a Bcasher about it. Hodling is using Bitcoin, right? If you're holding Bitcoin, you're using Bitcoin. But we're in the middle of a bull market. We're in the middle of a massive bull cycle. Is anyone transacting? What's going on out there, guys? Anyone using CoinJoin out there? Opening Lightning channels? What's going on?
Anecdotally,
Updating your cold storage?
I've sent some transactions in the last week. Many. Just trying to think of myself. I have been using.
We're like 2 of dozens.
Apparently, or maybe Bitcoin's just becoming extremely efficient. Maybe exchanges have upgraded to SegWit. They're being more efficient with their.
Or Marty, maybe the overwhelming majority of new users are either plebs stacking on Robinhood and not taking custody of their coins because they're not allowed to, or they're Michael Saylor who's just buying, $500 million worth of Bitcoin and then doing a single transaction to a regulated custodian from one regulated custodian to the other regulated custodian.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Bitcoin getting pushed into these third parties, new users, institutional users. It's a very good point. I think, and then we had this discussion last week, but do you think the more advanced users on the other end, a lot of us at least, I would say me personally, I'll just talk about myself, are using Lightning more and more? You think the Lightning users who would have used on-chain in the past are having an effect on that as well?
Sure. I mean, we already have our Lightning channels open. Lightning UX, I think, is better, especially if you're an advanced user and you disregard channel management. So if you're an advanced user and you know how to do channel management, actually making a Lightning payment is easier. I know I've been, anecdotally getting dispatch hats to freaks, and I only accept Lightning for that. They can't even send on chain or fiat. But that said, I'm actively stacking, right? Like I'm fiat mining. I got my fiat income, and that involves multiple on-chain transactions, right? I'm stacking, then I'm withdrawing to a hot wallet, then I'm coin joining, then I'm coin joining, and then I'm sending to cold storage. Are there like 1,000 of us doing that only? Like, what's going on, guys? Like,
well, I guess it gets to a deeper question too. Like, should we be depending on those people only on providing demand for transactions or transaction flow, if you will? Right? Like, what does it say about the state of Bitcoin right now? Like, I think more of the blame would be on the institutional side, just keeping it in centralized custodians and new users, like you mentioned, just getting on to exchanges and never moving it off.
The newest engagement hack on Twitter, maybe it's the most ethical of the engagement hacks, is here's a chart of some random on-chain metric, and this is why Bitcoin is going to $500,000, right? Like that is a classic automatic 1,000 likes, right?
Yeah.
The mempools are empty. Like,
that's the only stat you want to look at?
Is that that's the ultimate on-chain metric?
Yeah.
Even the metric like, oh, like the stackers are increasing or whatever, like they're reusing addresses.
Yeah. And so what What do you think needs to be done to increase transaction demand for it, or do you think it just needs to be coin joiners and people opening up Lightning channels?
Well, I think the freaks are ahead of the curve. I think the freaks are probably not the majority of transactors, but they're like a healthy volume of transactors on the network. And I think it starts with us, right? Like we need to go out and educate our friends and family. Like I've caught many of friends who just haven't withdrawn from exchanges. They've just been accruing a large balance on exchanges, right? And they're not comfortable with moving them off. Which is ironic because to me, it's the exact opposite, right? Like I'm just not comfortable having money on a centralized exchange.
Well, this would be like an interesting data project to look into and look at like exchange flows in the beginning of the year when the price was at all-time high, when more people were FOMOing in, and then look for like increased unexpected transaction volume activity like 6 months later as those users who were just newly onboarded go through the process of learning all this. Like, what do you think the median amount of time it takes from somebody just buying Bitcoin on an exchange to understanding, being comfortable with taking personal storage?
First of all, shout out to our ride or die who come to this live chat every week. We love you all.
I'm not in the live chat right now. What are these freaks saying?
We have said Trinity in the live chat who's saying, could it be that many are transitioning to using Lightning? And I just want the freaks to, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just another fucking thing Matt's wrong about, but I feel like it seems like an awfully lazy, easy excuse to be like, oh, we're just all using Lightning. Oh, and by the way, we have no hard metrics on Lightning transactions. Like, oh yeah, but they're all using that. They've all switched to that, but we have no real metrics on it. And to answer your question, probably a year and a half or something, right? Like it's a long transition period. Maybe the freaks are quicker if they come in through us, or they come in through a freak, like they have an Uncle Jim freak, and maybe it's like 6 months. The Uncle Jim, the nephews and the nieces of an Uncle Jim probably transition the quickest because they just have a friend who's just sitting there with them.
So this topic's providing a good segue into the first topic that we should do after Clark's dashboard, which is the ledger thing that's going on. Like the whole ledger fiasco is going on right now. Hackers mailing people fake ledgers using that data.
Real ledgers
that have been manipulated, right? And backdoor. Right. We'll get to that. But that like is another like headline that's like, oh, I can't do that. Somebody's going to steal my Bitcoin. So we need to approach that. Right now, according to Clark's dashboard, the price of Bitcoin is $37,710. That's 2,652 sats per cuck buck. We're currently at a $706.6 billion market cap. We're up 687,976. Taproot has been locked in since the last time we met. Locked in Saturday morning, and then we had a difficulty adjustment over the weekend as well. That difficulty adjustment was a downward difficulty adjustment of 5.3%. Currently, blocks are coming in at 10 minutes and 57 seconds on average, which is almost a minute above the 10-minute target. So right now, the next difficulty is looking to be about 9% downward, estimated to be on June 28th, 2021, as we were speaking. The mempool in Clark's dashboard is 4,491 transactions deep. We were speaking about coin joining earlier. This number's gone up. Whirlpool unspent capacity at 2,807.19 BTC, or 105.9 million cuck bucks in volume. Liquidity, excuse me.
Was that Whirlpool?
Mm-hmm.
I always zone out when you say all the metrics. What's the Whirlpool Bitcoin number at?
2,807.19 BTC.
That's really good.
Yeah. It's the highest it's ever been, I think.
Yeah, number go up.
That number is going up. So there are more people coin joining.
Yeah, I mean, at least we have them.
Yeah. So let's talk about the ledger story. We teased it a little bit, but becoming aware that a group of nefarious actors are leveraging the customer data that got breached from Ledger last year and was made apparent to the market in July of 2020. Hackers have taken that user data and they're now shipping ledgers that have been backdoored that they've taken physically and added a backdoor to and mailing.
they literally put a USB drive inside the ledger case.
Yeah. We'll get that. Yeah. So we're going to link to a breakdown of this that was in bleepingcomputer.com, and they go into exactly what happened. It's pretty.
If you get randomly sent a hardware wallet that you didn't order, like, do not plug that in.
Especially if it comes with a poorly worded letter.
Yeah. So the thing with these phishing scams, right, is like you have the full customer database got leaked. I don't remember exactly. I think it was 1 million email addresses, and then a subset of that was full mailing addresses. But it's important to remember that if your email address leaked from a different hack that was separate, maybe not even Bitcoin related, just a completely, like if Ticketmaster gets hacked and your address is there and your email address is there, they can cross-reference. So even if your email address was exposed, if that email address was exposed and connected to your mailing address at some other point, the malicious people might have that as well. So when you see these types of attacks, what they usually do is they go for the lowest hanging fruit. So first, what happened? We got the text messages and the emails, they just dragnet sent it out to everyone. And now that they've drained all of those people, the people that they were able to trick on that, they've moved to a more expensive, more complicated attack, which actually involves them buying a ledger, sticking a USB drive in it, putting the malware in the USB drive, packaging it back in the ledger box, vacuum sealing it. They do a full seal on it. They put a little letter in it like, we got hacked, so here's a new device. You should install this device or whatever. And they're going to get a whole nother set. And unfortunately, this won't be the end. After this, they're going to be a more sophisticated one that goes to the next set of low-hanging fruit until they completely drain as much Bitcoin as possible out of this breach. And I'm pretty sure Ledger hasn't posted about it yet, right?
I'm not sure. I think they would have learned after fumbling the reaction to the data breach itself, right? And this highlights the insidious nature of these data collection processes, whether it be from banks or third-party hardware wallet providers like Ledger. Like, they keep this information on their database: first names, last names, email addresses, and shipping addresses. Like, these hackers probably, again, Matt was saying lowest hanging fruit, like on top of lowest hanging fruit, highest probability of hitting a jackpot with your target. So they probably use that data and cross-reference it with social media to like meticulously pick who they're mailing this to, and just highlights the creepy nature of this all. Like, giving up this information really, and more importantly, holding this information on insecure databases at third parties puts people in physical harm. Like, what is the next progression in the attack, going up from the low-hanging fruit, right?
I mean, the next progression is like home invasions.
Yeah, exactly.
Most likely in jurisdictions that have poor gun rights.
Yeah.
And they know that people won't be armed and able to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why we need to get multisig up, and especially multi-jurisdictional multisig in different geographical locations, because it provides a deterrent, a general deterrent, that an attacker will just assume that if you're a sophisticated Bitcoin user, that you're using that. Of course, if you're using a ledger, you're probably not a sophisticated Bitcoin user, since they don't really have good multisig support anyway. So that's troubling.
Agreed.
You might be a sophisticated shitcoiner though if you're using a ledger.
Yeah. Didn't I hear something like Chrome basically made MetaMask incompatible with the browser or something like that?
I don't know. I can't believe that their whole ecosystem over at Ethereum relies on a browser wallet, which is kind of crazy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, browser wallets were like notoriously the number one thing people told you to stay away from in like 2013, 2014. Trade-offs freaks.
Well, it's a Bitcoin show.
It is a Bitcoin show. Speaking of Bitcoin, Taproot activated. Let's talk about this a little bit. 2 million sats going to the Human Rights Foundation.
Are you matching me?
Yes, I'm going to match you. You can't say.
Technically, I didn't lose the bet yet.
Yes, you could have a series.
There could be a fiasco in November.
You'd have to have a crazy amount of hash rate come off the network.
Well, the bet is activation, and we need people to update their nodes before activation. So there could be shenanigans before activation. But I'm a man of my word. So even though I technically haven't lost the bet yet, I already paid HRF. I paid HRF within like one block of lock-in, because I didn't want to be that guy, But But if there are shenanigans, I will be that guy in the future.
At the end of the show, I will donate 1 million sats to HRF.
There we go.
What did I want to bring up?
Sorry.
Okay, let's go into this. So let's go over the nuance of this. So speedy trial was the chosen activation method, basically a minor signaling mechanism over, was it 6 difficulty adjustments?
Yes. 3 months.
3
3
months.
months. So we did this last time. Yeah, 6.
So about 6 difficulty adjustments. Basically, if 90% of miners signaled within a difficulty adjustment period, Taproot would activate, and then at block height, 706,000 something. It's kind of officially activate on the network. But right now, Luke Dasher and a bunch of others have been pointing this out. As of right now, only as the last, I believe it was 24.3% of the network was running core version 0.21.1 or higher. I guess reachable nodes is the.
And those stats are kind of bullshit because that's why we have proof of work, right? It's like anyone can run nodes. I can go up after this show and just spin up a ton of old nodes on AWS, and then that percentage will go down. Or I could go and I could spin up a ton of new nodes on AWS, and that percentage goes up, which is kind of what we saw in Bcash land.
Yeah, and this reminds me of a lot of talk that was going on during the SegWit 2X is the nuance between like just your regular pleb full node and what many people consider an economic node, like a full node that is.
Well, mempools are empty, so there's no such thing as an economic node.
Economic node, yeah. Well, maybe the economic nodes aren't touching the chain as much as we like them to. That's not a weird comment.
An economic node by design is one that is transacting a lot, right?
Yes. Well, that's the thing. Like
one that is broadcasting and verifying a shit ton of transactions.
Yeah. So these exchanges just built internal ledgers that they're just doing the accounting that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
We have BTC pins, Ride or Die Freak in the chat that says, theoretically, we could UASF a block a Taproot upgrade if we wanted to, freaks. So we have that in the cards if we want to save Matt 1 million sats. But I prefer if we didn't do that.
Rehash that again. What's he want to do?
He wants the user activate soft fork to block Taproot.
Okay. All right. See how that would go over.
I mean, technically, what that means is we just don't update.
Yeah. So
nobody updates.
Let's talk about this more. Like, what's it going to take to update in your mind? Like,
just update Bitcoin Core.
Yeah. So the earliest version,
if you're
Taproot compatible, is version 0.21.1.
See, we had this conversation. Yeah, just update to the recent Bitcoin Core. But we had this conversation on the node dispatch this past Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people are running the implementations, right? They're running the dedicated node implementations like the Raspberry Blitz, the Ronin Dojos, the Noddles, the My Nodes, the Start Nines, the Umbrals. And so like you're kind of at the mercy of them updating.
Yeah.
But they're all going to update. It's not contentious. So they're all update. You just press update on your fucking device. It's important for people to realize why we don't have auto updates. Because if you had auto updates, then the devs can just push it forward. So fortunately, none of the major node implementations have auto updates. That's why Bitcoin Core doesn't have an auto update function, because ultimately at the end of the day, the end user has to go and they have to manually update if they want to change the rules that their node is running the network on, right? That's super important for censorship resistance.
Yeah, I know this is maybe a dumb question. You guys probably covered it on Dispatch, which I missed this week. But if that's the case, like, is there an onus on the node providers to give you the option to download different implementations?
Yeah. So right now it's not contentious, right?
Yeah.
But there was a question, like in a contentious node environment, in a contentious fork environment, how would these different node teams deal with it? And pretty much the consensus was that they'd offer both options, right?
Yeah, which I think is
but Marty, that is the safe PR answer to say now. If we were in an actual contentious situation, who the fuck knows? You know, maybe they'll be like, oh, the code for that isn't safe or verified, you know, or we're not going to offer that to our people. So one thing that was mentioned that is really, I think, important is the ability for people to easily migrate between them. So you have this check, even everything else equal. If you have the ability to easily switch between implementations, you have that ultimate check on the dev team if they don't have their act together, right?
Yeah. So easily switch your full node from like core to libitcoin and have like the same state, because right, they're different in the sense that like libitcoin doesn't notice UTXOs or
Well,
transactions.
I'm not even going that far. So what I'm saying is just two different versions of Bitcoin Core, right? Like, so like in the most recent
implementations, like,
so like the most recent Taproot situation, right?
yeah,
There was that core fork that had the Taproot UASF in it, right?
yes,
And Kita Miner said if Taproot didn't get the miner signaling support and it started to go on, that he would have offered in Nodl basically two buttons:
okay,
Taproot UASF or let the miners continue to decide core. And he would have given those two versions.
yeah, it's an interesting decision that these node providers have to.
It gets really bad if one gets like, if like 80% of plebs are running a single node implementation, then it gets really dangerous in those kind of situations.
Yeah,
Especially if they have a restrictive license and you can't legally change it yourself, which is why the migration is extra important in that situation, that you're able to easily migrate.
yeah, speed bumps, growing pains, data, learning new things about the Bitcoin network as we go, as these updates get added to the protocol. So if everything goes as planned, we don't have any crazy fuckery
Probably will.
with hash rate coming on and off the network, fucking up the difficulty adjustment variants, and more people downloading the software that makes it compatible. Sometime in the middle of November, I saw, I just know him as like at JB22 on Twitter. He ran some function. I think it said November 14th, as of 2 days ago, would be the day that we would hit the block that would officially activate Taproot if enough people have the software downloaded. So it'll be interesting to see if.
Well, then once we activate Taproot, right? If you don't update, your node won't see Taproot addresses. Your node won't even know Taproot's activated. But that's what makes it a soft fork, right? The backwards compatibility there.
Yes.
Which is similar to what happened with SegWit. If you have an old node, it just doesn't even know SegWit addresses exist. Now, it's going to take time for services and transactors, if there are any transactors out there, to start using Taproot addresses, right? It took a while for SegWit addresses to be used. It's still, I think the majority are still non-SegWit, right?
I think, isn't that like the one thing blockchain.com started LARPing about, was that they finally like adopted.
Right, so freaks, you have one addresses. They start with a 1, that's the legacy address. And then you have the 3 addresses, which is the wrapped SegWit. If it starts with a 3, is like a compatibility SegWit address that was easier to add into wallets and services. And then you have the native SegWit addresses that start with the BC1. And now you'll have a new address format that is Taproot addresses. And so to get any kind of privacy benefits out of Taproot addresses, we need people to actually use them. Otherwise, there'll just be like 10 people using Taproot addresses in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the wallet providers creating experiences that incite people to use it as well, to use the benefits, right?
Right. Drone Zone just commented, I called it wrapped SegWit. It's nested SegWit, but yeah.
Nested SegWit. So nested SegWit's a 3, as Matt mentioned. Native SegWit is the B1, and that's part of like the Beck32 address structure. And I believe that has like 16 possible versions. So version 0 was the native SegWit, and then version 1 will be Taproot, or 1, 2. I can't recall the actual technical explanation of it off the top of my head, but yeah. So mid-November, more extendability, hopefully more privacy. Schnorr signatures is added as well, right? Mining Council. Hand up. I fell asleep on the couch while it was going on.
Did you have it on?
No, I fell asleep. I was watching the Sixers.
So you didn't even turn it on?
No. Yeah, I've been doing some soul seeking. Like, how am I going to Obviously, everybody who listens to this or has listened to this for some time knows I'm associated or work with Great American Mining, building out that company. Yeah, and this whole mining council thing is, yeah, it feels like it's just being thrust upon people, and there's like a light nudging to contribute. And I was like, I don't know.
First of all, there's a couple of things. They officially launched earlier in the week, bitcoinminingcouncil.com. Michael Saylor flexing his domain hoarding abilities. Right? That's actually, if you're a Bitcoin mining council, it's ideal domain name. So they have a website now. Yesterday, they did a Twitter Spaces, which is Twitter's Clubhouse thing, where you can speak on Twitter live, and they choose who can speak and who can't speak. And I guess there's a large amount of people in there. Hopefully, someone recorded it. You know, I didn't. I was at family dinner. I didn't listen to it at all. Hopefully, someone recorded it and recapped it. So I don't really have anything to comment on that. Besides what we've already said about them.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see. As you can see on their site, it's all voluntary. People want to contribute, they can.
It starts. That's how it always starts.
How it starts, yeah. I mean, you freaks know my thoughts. Like, I think it's like I was thinking about it before we sat down to record today, and I know he triggers a lot of people in the space, but has recently downloaded a full node and said more positive things about Bitcoin. Ben Hunt at Epsilon Theory. He has this great paper on the nudging state. Like, just you lightly get nudged and nudged and nudged until you wake up one day. You're in essentially a prison cell of your own making, slowly over time. Frogs boiling water, blah 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 blah. And this just feels like the beginning of a light nudge down a slippery slope that isn't advantageous for the North American Bitcoin mining industry. My particular opinion.
The general premise is if you don't play ball with the mining council and you try and be an American miner, you're going to have problems with being profitable, or like you're going to have regulatory issues. You're going to have, they're basically going to coerce you into joining.
Yeah. I mean, again, ranted about this many times. It's all driven by the ESG movement in the capital allocation space, which is another movement that I don't think is advantageous for humanity in general.
I will repeat that I still think the ESG thing is a distraction for the clean coin bullshit, where they're going to start deciding which transactions get included in a block and which don't.
It's part of it, right?
I don't mean clean as in environmentally clean.
That's like social.
Oh, that's the S.
Yes.
I guess. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. What a horrible acronym.
You gotta transact like in a socially acceptable way. Right? There's three parts to it. They're drawing everybody in with climate, playing to emotions. And it's, hey, you have to accept you can only raise money from these institutional investors if you check out the social and governance, which means you have to run your business a certain way and hire a certain way. You're not allowed to build it the way you see fit, which again, top-down control of economy is not ideal.
On the bright side, as long as mining remains distributed and located around the world, ideally in smaller mining operations rather than large corporate mining operations, Bitcoin will be unaffected. The miners that have to deal with regulatory requirements from the US government and other North American governments or governments around the world will have worse profitability. And they will do worse than their competitors in smaller operations that are located in better jurisdictions. Except if you are yourself a miner in one of those jurisdictions, like Marty is, and then you're going to have to deal with that even more. So good luck to you. And I hope to see mining distribute globally as much as possible.
I do as well. I think it will. I'm optimistic. Doing my best here, freaks. But this brings up another good mining topic that you didn't have on the list, but I wrote about yesterday in the Bent, and just highlights another interesting trend in the mining in North America market specifically, which is like demand response mining on grid, like being massive, which it certainly is right now. It's very profitable right now, but we're just getting more examples throughout the world. Again, maybe I have my tinfoil hat on, maybe I'm being a little exaggerating a little bit, but we got another example yesterday. Kazakhstan plans to cancel tax-free regime for miners. There's been a bunch of miners migrating to Kazakhstan to plug in there. It's close and relatively cheap, and apparently miners had a tax break in Kazakhstan, but as more miners from China flooded in and started taking electricity from the grid, they cut the tax. Therefore, or excuse me, they cut the tax-free exemption.
They no longer have the tax incentive.
And, well, they no longer have the tax incentive, but most importantly, not having that has pushed their price of electricity probably above the point of profitability. So more miners aren't going to go there. So you have these political and pricing risk on the grid. And we've seen this before. Like Hydro-Quebec is crazy, writing yesterday's newsletter and rehashing Hydro-Quebec. And you go to like CoinDesk and you find stories from January with like the headline, Quebec lures cryptocurrency miners as China sours on industry. So you have like the China FUD. It's been around. This is January 2017 or 2018, excuse me. And then in July 2018, Quebec has issued a moratorium on new cryptocurrency mining operations. So like luring them in with this cheap energy, and then something happens politically, whether it just becomes something where they don't like the Bitcoin miners are using so much electricity, even if they have X amount of excess electricity. Or
I think, Marty, like, I mean, I think you would
greedy a lot too, and they just want to raise taxes. Like, oh, these Bitcoin miners make a lot of money, let's raise the price. And they don't realize that the operations are very reflexive to the price of electricity, so they'll turn off.
I mean, I think in general, you would agree that just, you know, with mining, there's a diseconomy of scale, right? It's like you can only, when you're looking for the cheapest, most efficient power possible, there's only so much of it at any given spot, just like physics, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so like, right now, it's not. It's just, I don't want to say it's a warning, but it's just like, hey, let's not pigeonhole the industry into this certain form of energy delivery and say this is going to be the way it's done in the future, and just be open to like, hey, if you actually play this out logically, demand for mining increases, demand for Bitcoin increases, the flywheel, excuse me, keeps going. Like John Seth says, Bitcoin miners are energy pirates. They're going to go to grids with excess capacity and cheap energy, and they're going to suck that out and then go to the next one. So just be aware, freaks.
Yeah, I think long term we naturally have that on our side. The question is if we have to get past the hump, which I think we're getting farther and farther past that hump, which is nice.
Yeah, and that's not the like, and that's so that hump too, right? That's where the like people should play that arbitrage, but just know that risk in the long term, like that cheap energy arbitrage that exists on grid with excess energy. Get it while you can, but I think long term plan to move off grid to some capacity at least.
We just before we move on, we have Joao in the comments saying we clearly didn't listen to the Mining Council Twitter Spaces because it was very positive compared to how they last spoke. And yes, like we literally said that in the beginning that we did not listen to it. So if they were very positive, that's great. I think Bitcoiners should be skeptical no matter what. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, usually like wasn't gonna bring him up. And now I feel like then you have like Elon tweeting today, like, where's the data for like the clean energy? It's like, oh my God, we've like forced ourselves into this terrible debate frame. And then we're now like, oh, like, well, actually the data's here. It's like, don't ever put yourself in a position where you have to be like, oh, the data's here. And you fall into the framing they put in front of you, which is
also like, I don't want Bitcoiners to be like he also says in here, he's like, some of them were very supportive of the idea of Stratum V2 and stuff. Like, I just, there's like, we can't be like intellectually lazy and just be like, don't worry, like in the future, we're going to have this thing that's going to do this thing and it's going to be good. You know, you got to constantly just be on your toes. I want the freaks to constantly be on their toes. If Stratum V2 gets implemented and like a large threshold of pools use it, that's fantastic. Like, that's great, you know? Does that really change the dynamics of large corporate miners that are all going to be part of the same whitelisted pool anyway and are going to build transactions based on the same whitelist? No, it doesn't. Is it out yet? No, it isn't. You know, so we just need to remain on our toes and constantly vigilant. That's all.
Always vigilant. Always on your toes. Yeah. if somebody recorded it, please share the recording with me.
We got FTB said that it was bullish.
Bullish. Okay, good FTB. Well, he's also a
he's
Tesla.
reformed.
He's a Tesla apologist.
He reformed.
I don't know if we take his word for it, Matt.
FTB's got a good head on his shoulders.
Okay, he does. He's got good stogies too. All right. If anything, be aware, be vigilant, think of the slippery slopes, at the very least. Speaking of mining in New York, we've been covering it since the news dropped about last month. The New York legislator had a bill on the floor that would have put a 3-year moratorium on mining within the state, but it seems like that bill is being pushed due to the fact that New York Electricians Union successfully fought the ban. They wrote a letter to the state about the amount of jobs that the mining industry can provide, good jobs at that. And we can attest to this at Great American Mining. Austin tweeted out a couple of days ago, just in our warehouse alone, building the containers, I think we have 19 workers in the warehouse. So it's creating jobs. It's eating up excess energy, providing the world with a sound monetary good in the digital age. It's good. It was good to see New York push this and this union stand up. That would have been tragic if it was actually successful.
It would have been tragic for New York.
Tragic for New York. Tragic for humanity too. The way that bill was written, the amount of typos and the blatant disrespect for the technical underpinnings of Bitcoin was nauseating. If that had made it to the floor and passed a civilized society, a quote unquote civilized society, I would question whether or not it was civilized. So yeah, that would have been bad. You would have had like the Greenwich facility up in the Finger Lakes shut down. I'm pretty sure Coinmint has some locations there. Could be wrong, but
it was pretty cool to see like an old American institution like the New York Electricians Union fucking stand up.
Yeah, being from New York, does that have a lot of clout?
I mean, unions have a ton of power, right? They've historically had a ton of power in our country.
What's like the union hierarchy? What's the most powerful union?
Not a union special. This is not a union podcast. But I'll tell you one thing, like the upper management of the New York Electricians Union they're not inherently Bitcoiners, right? And it's cool to see these different stakeholders emerge. I'll tell you one thing, they're definitely not pro proof of stake, and they like came in from a completely different direction, right? I mean, I remember when we were in Miami, we were talking to your one friend who came in from the oil and gas industry, right? And he had like a completely different introduction, awakening to Bitcoin than I did, right? And I imagine it's similar with these electricians, right? Like there's probably, a 60-year-old electrician in that union who's been, smoking cigarettes at the union headquarters for the last 40 years, who has no idea how Bitcoin works, but thinks the mining aspect is really fucking cool and like help champion the protest, which is kind of awesome to see.
Yeah, it's interesting work, and there's a lot to be built in terms of like power distribution units, which take the voltage from your power generation, our generators, convert it to the voltage necessary for the particular miners. So you have to build power distribution units for specific mining models. There's very interesting what Austin's told me about like the electrical engineering side is like it's a new problem. It's like canvas, so it has to be fun. I think as an electrician, like working with this new technology that has so many nuances to it from the ASIC perspective.
Bingo.
Boom. All right. Am I no New Yorker still? Maybe a little less of a New Yorker today. It was good to see this from the union. One strike for the unions as well. G7 leaders. What did we think about the G7 in general? There's 9 of them.
There's 7 of them.
No, there's like 9 countries in the G7 now.
It's G7 though.
I know. It's very confusing.
7 stands for the number of countries.
But they invite like 9 countries to stand
I know.
up.
I think they like have like guests that aren't actually G7 member countries.
And it was the G8 before, correct?
G8 includes Russia.
Yeah.
So then they got mad at Russia, so then they went down to the G7.
A lot of memeable moments coming from this G7 convention.
What's the countries?
U.S., Canada,
France. We tried this once before. I'm gonna Google this.
U.S., Canada, France, so the Queen of England, so England, Germany, Merkel's there, Japan, South Africa,
Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom, and the United States.
Italy. I think South Africa was invited.
Did I say Italy? And Italy.
Yeah, I got 6 out of 7. I'll take that.
And then they like invite people. They invite extras.
Yeah.
That was just like a complete clown show with like the fucking elbows and all the fucking.
I think just the photo ops from that alone, like them standing outside in that really weird position where they're like lying.
You didn't say China. China and Russia are not in the G7.
I did not say China.
Okay. No. A freak in the live chat confused me. Just want to make sure.
No, China is not in, I don't believe.
No. It's like America's Friends is the G7.
So
they say it's the most developed countries in the world, but it's America. It's like the American alliance.
How much does that piss everybody else off? Like, hey, we're the 7 most developed countries in the world.
Right.
Get on our level. God, modern day politics.
It's our MO.
All a clown show. It's all clown show. And that was the newsletter on Friday of last week. We need to ridicule these people. They are clowns. It is a clown show. This is a clown world now. Like, we just need to ridicule these people. Like, they're complete hypocrites. It's like, you can see in the picture where they're like social distancing in the background. There's people that are with them in their parties, and they're standing like a foot away from each other, talking to each other.
Well, no, so they did like the elbow thing, and then they stood in like that weird. It looked like they were in a reality show where they were like standing away from each other. And then immediately after that, they had a cocktail party where they were just right next to each other, as it should be, to be fair, right?
Yes.
But the beginning part was just all an act. And then also what pisses me off is the cocktail party is all the help wears the masks, right? And it's like it really showcases like the income inequality. And you see this, right? When we were in Miami, no one wore masks except the service people.
The Uber drivers.
And the service people were a lot of the service people were minorities, right? So you have situations where like you're walking around the South or whatever, and it's just none of us are wearing masks, and just like all the minority service people are wearing masks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, there's more. Yeah, minority.
That's gonna last for a while. I feel like
that's the thing I hate most about the restaurants right now. I was like, and I always ask the waitress, like, do you hate wearing that? And bar none, they're like, yeah, this sucks. I can't wait till it's over. And again, it's just completely logically inconsistent.
Whenever I'm at a bar, I tell them to just like if I'm at the bar with there's just me and the bartender, I just tell the bartender to take it off.
Yeah, and dude, again,
the best tip you can give them.
It's crazy how much theater there is. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I was watching the Sixers game. I didn't pick this up last night, but last week I was watching one of the games, and they do this thing where like they had the sideline interviewer interview a player in the paint, but they're holding the mic on like an 8-foot stick, and like you can see in the background people like standing within 6 inches of each other, like speaking into each other's fases, and it's all theater. Like the dude takes that mic, turns around.
The best part was talking about sports. The best part was when like the coaches would wear the mask, but then when they screamed at the players, they would lower the mask. It's like, okay, dude. But whatever. I was wrong about that. I was completely wrong. I remember the cool thing about RHR is you can go back, and we didn't miss a week during all of COVID. Marty had a kid,
doubled up,
fucking evacuated New York. Like we didn't miss a fucking week. We were there with you freaks every week, and you can go back. It's like a fucking time capsule. And I said, I mean, technically, by the way, masks, wearing more than 2 people wearing masks together in New York City is still illegal based on their like anti-riot law that they had from like the 1800s or whatever. And I said, I was like, they're going to make us, take off the mask as soon as possible. And I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong about that. Like they're going to last. It feels like they're going to last a long fucking time, but I just stopped. Fuck that shit.
It will be interesting to see
you
how
have to just draw the line, man.
Right. And I for the service workers out there, like I want to get them on our side of the line and like have the restaurant owners let them take off their mask if they want to.
The problem is that we live in a litigious society too.
That's true.
So it's like on the service side, it's all liability shit.
Yeah, that's a good point. Abundance of caution.
Because they put up the signs. They put up the signs like you have to wear a mask, but then they're not going to stop the patrons from wearing it. But if something happened, they're like, well, there was a sign.
Right. Yeah.
It's the litigious angle. But
Some
anyway, we kind of gotten sidetracked here from the G7.
Yeah, G7 ransomware is a priority now.
They're going hard on the ransomware stuff.
What do we say? What?
I mean, they like ransomware is a major threat to them. They just have it from the wrong angle, but ransomware is escalating. It's going to keep escalating.
Who's escalating the ransomware though? Like, why not levy these attacks earlier?
Look, are the ledgers fake ledgers going out of false flag? Or is it just our systems are insecure, so smart people in Eastern Bloc countries are taking advantage of it?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer.
Our systems have been insecure for a long fucking time, and Bitcoin now enables easy profitability off of it. And that's not Bitcoin's fault. That's the insecure system's fault. And we need to secure our systems.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Threatening Putin in a closed door 4-hour meeting is not going to solve the ransomware problem. Creating a cryptocurrency working group is not going to solve the ransomware problem. You're going to have to secure the systems, and it's going to be painful. People are going to have to get burned, and then they're going to secure the fucking systems.
That is a very good point. Like, we just need to do it. But like, and so how do we frame it and turn it from ransomware is bad, crippling our grids, crippling our supply chains, therefore we need to ban Bitcoin because it's enabling it? That's what will be argued. How do we turn that from no, we need to secure our systems? Like, what line of thinking?
Well, I think they're going to try the lazy options first, which the most obvious low-hanging fruit is ban ransomware payments. So if you're Adobe and you get ransomware, they're going to make it illegal for Adobe to pay, like, don't negotiate with terrorists, right? And there's just going to be a bunch of companies that get fucked because they can't pay the ransom legally. Ooh. And they're just not going to be able to recover their data.
What's the legality of that though? Like, to what extent can the government prevent?
It's like sanction stuff, right?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point.
If you put the ransomware gang on the sanction list, then you can't pay the ransomware gang unless you violate sanctions rules.
They should just take part of this infrastructure bill. They're starting to posture this way as well. Internet grids, well, grids already included, but internet now included in critical infrastructure. And so they want to sort of paint it like, all right, we can help out with that infrastructure bill. Why not create a bug bounty system? It says, all right, go attack all of our critical systems. No
one wants to pay enough for the bug bounty, Marty.
But
it's like the same reason, like, instead of paying a bug,
like, would they come in and scoop up like $100,000?
Instead of paying bug bounties, why don't you just fucking fix your systems? Like, why don't you hire some more engineers to fucking make your systems more secure?
Are there enough good engineers? I guess that's another question.
I think people and companies have been lazy, and they're fucking paying the price now. And the one cool thing is, it's like it's a free market approach to securing your systems is if you don't fix them, it's going to cost you more. It's cheaper to fix your fucking shit now than to wait around and have your whole fucking network get taken over.
No, agreed. Like, I don't think any portion of the infrastructure bill, if allocated by any administration, let alone the Biden administration, would actually solve the problem. So I agree. Yeah. If you're running a ledger, if you're running a company with sensitive data, work on securing your systems. That's another, like how do we get more good system admins?
The EU, the European Union, right, released a far-reaching, burdensome privacy bill, right? That ledger fell under.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? This is like PSBT. What?
MLD5?
No, GPDR or GDPR, right. Data protection, GDPR. Yeah. Right. They released that, right? like 2 years before Ledger got hacked. That burdensome regulation didn't protect user privacy in practice. What did more for user privacy was Ledger got completely fucking owned, and they will never let that happen again. Like they regardless of how you think they handled the aftermath, you can bet your fucking everything that they're in the background. They're like, we can never let this fucking happen again, right?
I would hope so.
But GDPR didn't do that.
It's a good point. Bitcoin fixes this. Secure your systems. You won't have to spend your Bitcoin and be able to handle it. Yeah, but do you think this ransomware thing, they're going to lean into it? You think that's the next big attack? The energy stuff's getting a little played out.
You know, I don't really think it's like that. I don't think it's that effective of an attack, but we'll see.
You don't? Why not?
I don't, you know, I don't see the will to use that kind of thing. I don't think they have the.
But dude, imagine if like another meat packing facility gets taken down, like another pipeline, and like ransomware.
They get taken every day,
crippling our systems. But not like inflation. So this was the producer print this week on Tuesday. It dropped 6.6% year over year. It's taken into consideration. We had obviously the shutdowns around this time last year, but this is like end of the supply chain. Producers, their prices went up 6.6%. If you think at the producer level, if it's going up that high, and then to get the good to market, you have to ship and add cost onto it at every part of the way. Like those costs definitely are going to continue to be passed down to consumers. So like we have inflation here, ransomware's up, like they're going to need a scapegoat. Will it be Bitcoin?
I think
Bitcoin's causing the inflation. It's incentivizing the shutdown of all this stuff.
It's my least favorite topic.
Okay, we'll move on.
But I think ransomware is a way less effective. It's too esoteric of an argument for the populace than wealth redistribution. And I think if you see Bitcoin pump the way we expect Bitcoin to pump, you're going to have the Elizabeth Warrens of the world really rallying around wealth redistribution.
Yep.
And that's a way easier sell to the general public than Cisco has an insecure system and paid $3 million in a bounty to some random Ukrainian gang using Bitcoin.
I agree, but why not add them? Why not combine them?
Sure, maybe.
Ransomware and inflation at the same time, income inequality, it all adds up. Bitcoin, the cause of all of our problems.
I'll tell you one thing. The ransomware gangs are actually using the mempools.
I was going to say I'll take it, but would that be an unfavorable statement? Would that be a not wise statement to make, an unwise statement? Interesting. It's securing our systems, transaction fee, incentivize the security of our systems. Maybe it's just one FBI agent to another.
Ryan Warwick in the comments stated this well. He said, most C-suite execs see cybersecurity as a compliance and insurance issue. They are necessary costs, a pill to swallow. That's not real security. A genuine security first posture will take time, change of heart, and I would add to that pain, a lot of pain.
Agreed. Thank you for that color, Ryan. Ukraine. Let's get on the Ukraine. Ukrainian police nabbed 6 tied to Klop ransomware. So ransomware is still the topic. Ukrainian police came down on 6 individuals.
Yeah, I think this is how we're going to see ransomware fighting happen more, where they're going to go after individuals. Most of these guys are very sloppy.
Yeah, and it seems like it's very unorganized groups of these ransomware. Like the case with, what was it? Dark Sky. What was the
Dark Side?
Dark Side. That's what it was. They were like licensing it out. That's what seems to be the case here too. Right? They're saying they don't believe that anybody they caught were actual creators of
supposedly these were like the money laundering part of the operation in the Ukraine.
Young kids too.
They did 20 raids at once.
They got Kroger's. Damn, they came after Kroger's.
And like a bunch of universities.
Yeah, they're getting everybody. They're getting everybody. So yeah, all right. Another.
But that's what I'm saying. Like those universities
That makes me believe you're come closer to your side of the argument, where it's just completely fragile systems that are being exposed by teenagers in Ukraine.
Like, did you see what we got like fucking tagged in with the Southwest thing?
I remember, yeah, like they had to ground their whole.
Yeah, they had delays and stuff because their networks went down. Yeah. And someone tagged me and you, and they're like, Marty was right. Like these are false flags.
Whitney was right.
That wasn't even ransomware. That was it was just a, you know, it was, they didn't claim it was ransomware. They don't mention Bitcoin anywhere in the article. They just have really shitty systems. Like, does anyone think Southwest has a good network? Like they have very good IT engineers and shit over at Southwest, like running a really great secure computer system. Does anyone actually believe that? No.
I don't think so. I mean, the planes themselves, a lot of them are.
They're a heavily subsidized zombie business living in a fiat world.
Hey, I will give Southwest credit for revolutionizing the boarding process. Just like get in line, you cattle, between 1A and 126 and or A26 and B26.
They're the best boarding process in the business.
It really is. They figured that out. And there's no technology involved. It's just like, hey, look at the number on your ticket.
It wouldn't work if there was.
Get in spot, right? Get in line. I just almost knocked over my whole setup here. Yeah, speaking of G7, still, it's all emanating from ransomware in the G7. Biden and Putin met for 4 hours. Matt already alluded to this, with the U.S. threatening cyber response to ransomware. That's what I was going to ask you earlier, but didn't get the chance to get it out. Do you remember the 16 talking points?
What 16 talking points?
That was like, that's the only thing I gathered from their meeting, was like, we talked about 16 bullet points that Russia needs to meet if we're going to continue working at.
Yeah, I don't. Ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like, we said it earlier, but it's like so crazy how overtly it's just theater. It's just, I don't know, maybe it was exhaustion after last year and people being more aware of it. But that G7 meeting, is it me, or is that like the worst photo op?
It was pretty bad. Like, where were their handlers? They should have done it better.
Right.
That one meme that came out of it where they're like looking up. What was that photo? What were they looking at? Was there like a flyover or something?
Right. They all have like the O face. It's like, he has an American.
You'd think they'd be better at it, you know?
Right? That's the other, like, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like we both at the same time.
They're that bad. Like they didn't even wherewithal to have the awareness to try to fake it better than that. Like they're getting lazy. They're all old as fuck. So they're all like, oh, fuck, I don't care anymore.
At the same time, we believe that they're completely incompetent and they're like, what the fuck are they doing? And then they're also like pulling off the most sophisticated fucking operations possible.
Right.
They're thinking like 12 moves ahead.
Maybe it's somewhere in the middle. It's probably most likely somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
That was the weirdest fucking meeting. It was just
right.
They should just not even posted photos. Just like fucking do closed doors.
Great meme fodder though. Like them on the chessboard and they're set up like bowling pins. Like
it looked like a bad Bravo reality show.
Dude, it looked.
Is what it looked like.
Looked worse than that. Yeah, it looked like a bunch of politicians trying to film a Bravo reality show. U.S. Dems form a cryptocurrency working group. Say this is separate from Cynthia Lummis, correct? From Senator Lummis.
Yeah, because she's a Republican.
Oh, Maxine Waters. Oh God.
This is the haters.
Yeah, Maxine Waters, who leads the House Financial Services Committee. She's joining up with
all the haters,
Senator Warren and all the haters, to talk about stable coins. What do you think about Mark Cuban getting rug pulled and asking for more?
What a cuck.
Stable coins.
I mean, he should stay humble and stack sats.
What was the fucking coin called? Like he wrote
I
an
don't want to
article
shill it.
like that.
What?
Oh, my
It was
bad.
called Titan.
Yeah, and he like wrote a whole article, a blog about it, and, like pumped it. He's like a 2-bit scammer.
He's like full in DeFi or whatever.
He's like 2017 ICO scammer
Oh yeah, 100%.
blueprint. Like, hey, write the Medium article. Just talk about the white paper. Talk about. Did he drop MP equals P or MV equals PQ?
Did you see his comment? His comment was he thought it was kind of scammy, so he pulled out of it, and then it kept going up, and he was like, "Oh, maybe I'm wrong." So then he bought back in, and then he got rug pulled. Dude's a fucking billionaire. Billionaire playing fucking shitcoin games, and this is what happens. And then instead of learning from it and trying to use his platform to help other people, he decided that there was nothing really wrong with it except that the space is underregulated.
Yeah, he's such a scumbag. He's I think Niraj posted it from Coin Center. He's literally the meme of the dude riding the bike with the stick and putting it in his own spoke. He's like, it's a lack of regulation.
This is the second time he's fucking done this, where he's gone from Bitcoin as a scam and then jumped straight into shitcoins in the middle of a cycle. He did it 2017, and now he's doing it this cycle.
Yeah, he was pumping shitcoins in the ICO bubble.
And then he went back to Bitcoin's a scam. He called Bitcoin worse than bananas. And now he's like trading fucking shit tokens on Uniswap and getting rug pulled.
Yeah. And he's like investing in projects in the DeFi space as well. It is recorded history. I believe the year was 2014. And Mark Cuban was approached by the great Michael Goldstein, aka Bitstein, who told him that he should stack sats and that Bitcoin is the best money ever. They didn't listen. Maybe he's salty from that encounter with Michael. I believe it was 2014. There's video evidence that happened.
He's definitely salty. That is very obvious.
Yeah. It's like another layer of the social attack too. We fed the troll, the VC, back to Jason. He came out and like that, they're like that's why I wrote the newsletter today. Just blinders on, focus on what you have in front of you. Like it's only going to get louder. It's going to come from like this House Democrats committee that's going to like pump stable coins and CBDCs. It's going to come from the shitcoiners. It's going to come from the no coiners. It's going to come from the environmental hysterics. It's going to come from the socialists of the world. It's going to get louder. There's going to be more people coming, more countries adopted. They're going to have more people coming to shill them Bitcoins. Can't let it get to you. Something I've learned over the years. You have to always try to come back and focus on like, all right, this stuff's going to happen. Definitely call it out, and you should call it out when it's necessary, but you can't let it drive you crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I was going through my spam folder today, and there was, someone sent me a newsletter about putting your blinders on or some shit like that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to articulate here.
No, I agree, dude. Like, we got to the freaks have to that was a really good bent. All jokes aside, one of your best recently.
But
stay humble and stack. Just fucking build. Focus.
On top of that, don't get triggered by everything out there. It's like you waste too much energy, and you'll come to find like we just explained how Mark Cuban got rug pulled in a shitcoin scam. This happened literally almost exactly 4 years ago.
Well, what really triggered me, and being triggered is weak. But you can get triggered. You can be aware of your triggering, and then you can push back against it in a structured fashion. I think we don't have to have complete blinders. I think these things aren't a threat to Bitcoin, but they're a threat to individuals that get trapped in them. Mark Cuban's audience, for instance.
Yes.
And recently this week, we had the official Bitcoin delegation go down to El Salvador, and it was just all shitcoiners. And
he gets his way in these things, man.
People wonder. They're like,
how?
People wonder like why Bitcoiners get angry.
The dude from CNBC South Africa. Blinders. This is why it's like blinders. This shit happens literally every cycle. Like we can go back to Brian Kelly's shilling Nautilus coin on CNBC in like 2013, 2014. People are like, this is stupid. It just happens every cycle.
Yeah, but there's new freaks that aren't aware, who Brock is, who this is, and they're learning experiences, right? So that we should be focused. We shouldn't, life is short. You shouldn't let it hurt you, but
definitely should have let it hurt you.
But these are educational experiences, and I think there's a place both on Bitcoin Twitter, in individual communities, meetups, Telegram groups, RHR, this podcast, where we talk about these things as educational experiences, right? These are learning lessons.
Yes.
And every time a Bitcoiner does something good, there's 1,000 fucking scam coiners waiting in the wings to take advantage of that opportunity. And we're always up against it. And you have to be active. You have to be actively, and I know this for a fact. Then when our boy Jack Mullers was talking to the president of El Salvador, like, he warned him ahead of time. And because you have to, right? You have to be like, look, as soon as this legal tender bill comes out, Tron is going to build a headquarters there. Balaji is going to tell you to do El Salvador coin. Brock Pierce is going to come with his official delegation. It happens every fucking time. And if you're prepared, then maybe you can stop some of the pain. Maybe you can stop some of the hurt. But ultimately, the majority of people are going to have to touch the fucking stove and learn from that.
Yes. And don't let it distract from what you have in front of you to accomplish on an individual basis. And then Bitcoin is to be successful. Like, just focus on that. And that's why I said in the newsletter, like me personally, I have like insane confidence that Bitcoin's going to succeed, like seeing what's happening in the mining space alone. So just blinders on. It's only going to get louder, especially if price goes up.
So, Marty, do you think it's a coincidence that fucking BitCloud got listed on its first exchange this week?
No. It'd be a very interesting coincidence. Could be.
You see Breedlove says he's still investigating. He hasn't made his decision yet on BitCloud.
Is he trolling though? Was that like a trolling response?
No way. Did you see Brian Armstrong? Brian Armstrong opened his BitClout.
Yes, I did see that.
He's got $4 million worth of Brian Armstrong tokens. You see Coinbase added Shiba Inu token.
I saw that. That's
a regulated Bitcoin exchange that's selling surveillance software to the U.S. government added Shiba Inu token.
Hey, that's what you're able to hawk when you give all the information to the government.
The thing is,
I see where you're coming from. I know exactly where you're coming from.
If we don't call out our own, who the fuck are we?
I agree. We have to call them out. But like the point, I think with the energy stuff, I wrote that letter to myself today because like the energy stuff has been exhausting the last 6 months. Like consistently talking about it. It's like in my mind, it's like, all right, blinders. Like everybody's made their decision. It's like, see you on the field. Like just wasting
Did you
time.
see Lex Friedman?
Charles Hawkinson, longest podcast.
5 hours.
How do you spend 5 hours with Hawkinson? Dude, is he 33? He looks like he's...
If you needed proof that Lex Friedman's an idiot pretending to be a smart person, there's your fucking proof.
Yeah.
I was like holding back because he talks so fucking slow. But damn, man, clearly a fucking dumbass.
Well, if you talk slow, does it make you seem smarter?
Lex is going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. On his podcast, there's going to be a 5-hour fucking episode with Charles Hoskinson.
Did you listen to it?
Of course not.
I can only imagine what they talked about. I think I saw one clip where Charles just contradicted himself within the span of 3 seconds. I think that's the tweet I saw. Apparently, he said Bitcoiners have been calling it digital gold, but now called a store value, not realizing that gold is a store value. But yeah, no, it's only going to get louder. Charles Hoskinson, Vitalik, Brock Pierce, they're all going to be around. Because remember like CNBC South Africa came out and that dude just had a bunch of shitcoiners on. Yeah, I'm sure he's going to be back.
Crypto man ran.
Yeah, I mean CNBC does. CNBC proper does.
The only responsible thing is to diversify into 100 different shit tokens.
Well, dude, it's crazy that CNBC still lets Brian Kelly talk about anything outside of Bitcoin. Dude, he did Nautilus Coin in 2014, 2015, and then he like told noobs how to market buy Ripple literally at the all-time high in 2017. Like 3 years later, just like pushing more people into another scam.
One thing I would say though is, and maybe I know I'm a broken record freaks. This shit's bullish as fuck. A 5 hour podcast with Charles Hoskinson on fake PhD man over there. That is bullish. That is extremely bullish. He got a ton of engagement off of it. He thinks he's the coolest man ever, interviewing the founder of Cardano.
Cardano, dude, that is like the number one shitcoin that people ask me. Like, what do you think about Cardano? I'm like, I don't think about Cardano. It's getting repetitive now too. Like, I don't.
A lot of noobs are getting fucking washed up into it, Marty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's perplexing. Really.
It's cheap. It's a unit bias bullshit.
Yeah, but like how do so many people know about Cardano? Like, I don't see like an immense amount of Cardano shilling in my everyday. Like,
Is it on Coinbase?
Where's that happening? I don't know. Where is that happening and what is being said? That's what I'm interested to find out.
It's definitely on Binance.
Wouldn't be surprised.
And it's probably on Coinbase. It might not be on Coinbase because the VCs didn't get into it, and Coinbase usually only lists things that the VCs want to dump on retail, which is why they didn't have Dogecoin until like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, that's the play, right? The VCs just get in early. If their bags aren't pumped well enough, like, all right, Coinbase launch it. Let's rip dump. Like, who cares about Shiba Inu coin? What is the value? What is the value prop?
It's the token. It's not even a proper shitcoin.
It's like an NFT?
No, it's just like an ERC20 token, or maybe it's on Binance chain. I don't even know. I assume it's an ERC20 token because I don't think Coinbase lists Binance chain tokens, but I don't even fucking know anymore. It makes me feel like such a boomer sometimes.
I was going to say we are the biggest boomers in the space, probably. I wear that with pride. Okay, I'm happy to be a millennial boomer.
I like that hat. Is that a new hat?
No, I've worn it on a couple live streams, but yeah, I'm very getting close to like peak butthole surfer right now. It's that time of the year down the shore where you just put a t-shirt, shorts, don't put flip-flops on even.
I like your background. How are you able to breathe on the moon without an oxygen tank?
It's a feat of human ingenuity. The moon isn't real. I'm here to tell all you freaks. We made it up. The earth is flat. The moon doesn't exist. You're in a pod right now.
Cheers to ride or die freak Kita, who lets us know from Wikipedia that Shiba Inu is an ERC20 token on the Ethereum blockchain and is based on Dogecoin. It brands itself, quote unquote, the Dogecoin killer.
Coinbase. Are you buying Coinbase stock? Are you buying coin?
Short it. I mean, don't short it. Just buy Bitcoin.
Yeah,
don't trend to zero in terms of Bitcoin.
Don't short it. It's not financial advice.
Don't short any equities or anything. It's just fucking all clown market. Just buy Bitcoin. Stay humble and stack sats.
Agreed. That's a good segue into shout outs before I forget.
We got good idea.
This week.
I'm glad I reminded you.
I was on this one. Okay. Open Letter to Volcanoes by Evil Bukele. I have to say this in a sexy voice. Damn volcanoes. You're so damn hot. Like, you don't even know. The way you make that steam, mine those blocks, is fresh to death. And way cooler than mining with farts from the ground. Yeah, that right. Great American mining, come at me. Anyway, Big Clout. All right, that was a good one. Fuck Big Clout was a good way to end it. I don't know who wants me. Was that a sexy voice?
Dude, the Big Clout scam shit is in full swing. They also capped the supply. Did you see that tactic they did? I mean, they got it added to blockchain.com. No one should use blockchain.com to buy or sell.
They added to blockchain.com?
That was the exchange ad. That was the big exchange ad that they added. Huh. I'm assuming they're about to add it to Coinbase. That's why Brian Armstrong tweeted it out. And they capped the supply at, I think, like 10 million tokens or something like that. So the scam is in full swing.
Make me want to rip the blinders off and be like, is this like an attack on Bitcoin? Like something so
It's not an attack on Bitcoin. It is literally a chain that was designed to be an integrity bounty on influencers. And if you can be bought for $30,000 worth of fucking illiquid shit tokens, then you have zero integrity whatsoever. It's that obvious.
How many Bitcoin?
What?
What's your price?
The freaks gave me shit. What did I say? I said like 5,000 Bitcoin or something, and the freaks gave me shit.
Never sell your integrity. This is a trick question.
Yeah.
I'd take 5,000 though.
You just never see me again. I don't even know if that'd be selling my integrity.
That'd be your walk away.
I'll tell you one thing though. If you're a cuck out there and you're defending someone and saying that the reason they do something like this is because they're trying to improve their OPSEC, like that's just I don't know. Go have some self-respect. Like that's some bullshit. Like there's no way, like this is not like if you want to walk away, fucking walk away. People will forget about you within 6 months. You don't have to shill a fucking bottom tier shitcoin, to do it. That is just fucking cuck mentality at its finest, like making those excuses for people.
What are your thoughts on Kevin Pham? Was he a self-sabotager to walk away?
He was a fucking idiot.
Hey, I agree. Thank you for the work you do to illuminate the nuances of Bitcoin to newer freaks. I've learned more through TFTC, RHR, and Serial Dispatch than by any other avenue. The quality of guests that you interview is outstanding, from a humble sat stacker down under, trying my best to avoid staying poor.
Let's fucking go. That's what it's about. Cheers to you, freak.
That is what it's all about.
Pass it on. Pay it forward.
Become an Uncle Jim. Do not trust us.
Or an Aunt Jane.
An Aunt Jane. I like that. First time I'm hearing Aunt Jane. When did you come up with this one?
I don't know. It came up like 2 hours into either a dispatch or an RHR when we were drunk one time.
This is it makes a lot of sense. Uncle Jim, Aunt Jane.
Let's go.
June, Jane.
Jane's good.
I like Jane as well. To all you Aunt Janes out there, thank you for keeping it real and helping people avoid third parties outside of yourself. MicroStrategy. Can't stop buying Bitcoin. We talked about MicroStrategy last week, right?
We're done with shout outs. We got 2 shout outs.
Yeah, we got 2 shout outs. My bad.
See, the freaks are bullish as fuck. They're hoarding their sats.
Yeah.
Good to you, freaks. We talked about MicroStrategy, their new holding company for their Bitcoin.
Yeah, but okay, that's what I was saying. Like we talked about that last week. So this week's news is the issuance of $1 billion worth of stock, correct?
No. So last week we discussed that they were seeking investment in their new bond offering of $500 million, 500 million.
500 million got oversubscribed like 3x. I think it was 600 million and went up to like 1.5 billion was the final.
No, I think they were asking for 400 million. They were asking for 400 million. It got oversubscribed to 1.5 billion, but they only took 500 million. And then I assume because they have to pay 6% on it, like 6+%, the board was like, that's a little bit reckless. We can't take that much. And then after they did that, they announced that they may be selling up to $1 billion worth of stock to basically buy more Bitcoin with, which is a little bit more responsible because that's, not debt on their books.
No, that's stock rest they're allocating to speculators. So, yeah. Damn. He's going to get those Bitcoins any way he can.
He's just trying to. Thank God Bitcoin's not proof of stake. Like, imagine if this was happening to a proof of stake chain. Then it's just a fucking attack. It's just a straight up attack.
What would the hand waving around that be? Oh, don't worry.
Oh, he's just trying to secure the network.
Yeah, he's don't worry. It's for the cause. He's for the cause. He's got this.
I believe BTC Pins is asking if it dilutes stock. I'm pretty sure it dilutes the existing MicroStrategy holders. Yes.
Definitely would, right? You're adding more stock.
Yeah, it would be different if he was selling his stock or like existing holders were selling their stock, but I'm pretty sure this is diluting existing holders' shares, which he doesn't really care about because all he cares about is Bitcoin. So he's teaching you a strong lesson there that you should have bought Bitcoin instead of MicroStrategy stock.
Agreed. I'm just looking at the prospectus right now.
So they might not do it. They announced that they're thinking about it, so they have approval to do it. They can sell up to $1 billion worth of stock.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it would dilute everything. Just a
Yep.
stock offering at the market price at the time of sale. So
Yep.
you're just adding to that.
How do you feel about him accumulating all this fucking Bitcoin?
I don't care that he's accumulating all the Bitcoin. He can. He's doing it.
Because it's not proof of stake.
I'd like to think I'd have the balls to do the same thing if in a similar position that he was. Yeah, no, it doesn't worry me at all. I worry that from a protocol perspective, like he doesn't have literal control over the consensus code because of that. But again, like the meat space things, mining council. But I have to go listen to it.
Behind closed doors, he obviously has more. The more Bitcoin he has, the more influence he has behind closed doors, right?
Yeah.
Like when he's talking to these people, like he's like, the unspoken thing is I have control of over 100,000 Bitcoin, right? And he could dump it if he got angry, right? Or he could say I'm swapping into Shiba Inu or something after having like a Shibu token position. So he does get some extra influence from having this much coin, but like not really on the protocol level. These are all short-term things. These are not a long-term. He can't stop Taproot, for instance, because he owns more tokens.
No, I mean we learned that in 2017. No, yeah, I'm more worried about again just hyper vigilant around the mining council stuff. That's the stuff that worries me more than the amount of Bitcoin he has on his balance sheet, personal or MicroStrategy.
Our boy FTB makes a good point that if you believe in Bitcoin, it's not really dilutive because then they're going to hold an additional $1 billion worth of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So if number goes up, like your stock is worth more anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If Bitcoin goes down, then it was dilutive as fuck. But if it's just based on your Bitcoin holdings and you own an extra $1 billion worth of Bitcoin because you sold $1 billion worth of stock, then it's not really that dilutive.
Oh, well,
it's not dilutive in practice if your unit of account is Bitcoin.
The stockholders aren't getting paid out in Bitcoin. They're not getting dividends in Bitcoin or anything.
But the value of the company is based on the value of the Bitcoin it's holding.
All equal, it's dilutive. Like the individual shares before the time of the sale would have been worth more in the future.
The main thing MicroStrategy does is hold Bitcoin now. They're a Bitcoin holding company.
Is it MicroStrategy or MacroStrategy? Is MacroStrategy?
MacroStrategy is a subsidiary of MicroStrategy, and it holds the Bitcoin.
Okay. All right.
So he's got a point there, right? That makes sense to me.
I mean, definitionally, it's dilutive. It's dilutive to current holders of the stock. I would think, at least. I could be wrong. I'm not CFA certified, or I don't have my Series 7 or anything like that, so I could be wrong.
I think definitionally it's dilutive.
Yes.
Right? But they're putting $1 billion worth of Bitcoin on their balance sheet.
Yes, the stock will go up, and the point I'm trying to make is the shareholders now before the sale would be happier. That's a good point. Like, could the returns on the Bitcoin that was acquired because of this the sale of the stock
will go up?
Yeah.
I mean, we assume it's we're bullish, right?
I'm getting semantics here. Where FTB is right, and it's true. If the bullish case does play out.
Yeah. As Bitcoiners, if Bitcoin's our unit of account.
Yes. So talking about stock dilution on TFTC. I love it. I'm loving this rip, bro. And I lost my place. Swiss broker Relay raises 2 points. Relay.
How do you pronounce it?
Relay. That's what I went with. Just spell it out correctly.
So they're a pretty cool exchange. They just basically focus on auto stacking.
Yeah, it's an app. It was like an Amber or.
I went on their podcast. So with their founder, super young guy, Julian.
How'd that go?
Seems like a great dude. In proper Matt Odell fashion, we talked through business strategy that he should employ on the actual air. But yeah, they focus on auto stack, auto withdrawal. and they have no additional KYC. So it does involve a bank account.
You give them an expo?
No, that's what we talked about on air. They reuse addresses.
Is this a case in which you would be okay with reusing addresses?
No, we talked about that on air. They should either add XPub or PayNyms support.
You
shouldn't reuse addresses, period.
Yeah, PayNyms probably be the best way from
PayNyms is the easiest. The only problem is your user needs to have Samurai because no one else has added BIP47.
Yeah. And receiving payment doesn't have to be live. It's not like PDEP, right?
No, that's the cool part.
Yeah, that would be beneficial.
But anyway, their heart's in the right place. Great service. I'm glad to see them raise 2.7 million in their Series A round.
I haven't heard like a good quality dev rebuttal to BIP47. Why is that such like a controversial thing? Why isn't it implemented more widely? Something I would like to know. Like, what are
the powers that be said that they didn't like it, so it just didn't fucking happen.
You're talking about like Greg Maxwell specifically, right?
I think it was Luke who poo-pooed it.
Was it Luke?
The main argument is that it uses block space for the initial pairing transaction, and that it was a non-efficient use of block space. But the mempools are all clear, and we're in the middle of a bull market in 2021. So let's use the fucking block space, man. And you can do it without block space if you do it in a semi-centralized way where you have a centralized coordinator handle it, similar to the Chaumian coin joins. But the nice thing about doing it on chain is you can restore everything from a single seed. You restore it from the seed, the wallet scans the chain and can see the notification pairing transaction. So you're able to do it that way.
Could Uncle Jim coordinate that? The option that allows you to use less data?
You need someone who you can hit the server when you want to restore to be able to know what the address is generated where. Which is why it's nice on chain because it's there forever.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. It's something we need. I would love to see more wallets support it. I know I've been trying to get Hexa to add it. They're working on it.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear some opposing arguments to why it should be implemented. That's like, again, like I haven't heard anybody on the dev side articulate like aggressively against it. It's interesting. Yeah,
well, the main argument recently is that a Lightning solution will deprecate it before anyone has even implemented the on-chain solution. So the main use case for something like a PayNym is I want to set up payments, whether that's a stacking service or an employer or donations, where I can just give you a fixed text key, right? Just text, copy and paste text. But instead of an address that you're just constantly reusing the same address, you can use this fixed text to generate new addresses or new payments in a privacy preserving way, right? Or in a way that is a way better privacy than reusing an address.
Does it leverage some rendezvous routing or something like that?
So for me, we're content creators, right? Like to accept donations. It would be nice if we didn't need a BTC Pay server to accept donations. If we could just have a text string, right? And we could put that in our Twitter bio, or you could put that wherever. You can put it in a QR code on a video or something, and people could donate to you in a privacy preserving way. Activists, perfect example. Why should they have to run a BTC Pay server to just accept donations in a way that doesn't completely destroy their privacy and their sender's privacy? PayNyms solves that on chain. Lightning teams are working on key send, which is like you have a fixed public key. So I'm not sure how privacy preserving it is, but it's not showing up on chain. You can't see the payments coming in, even though the pub key is fixed, right? So it's still better than a reused address. LNURL, right, is another option, but that requires a centralized server that's just sitting there on ClearNet ready to relay it, because you're basically going to a URL link, hence LNURL. But that's the use case that needs to be solved. Is a major use case, and a lot of Bitcoiners would say that it'll be a Lightning solution rather than an on-chain solution. But I say, just let's get all the wallets to implement PayNyms. The mempools are clear. Let's just do it for now. We got at least 5 years probably. Says the guy who like 3 weeks ago was like the mempools are never going to clear again this cycle. Right. But
and that's like, again, just
what's the fee market?
Trying to steel man this, because would that be a decision made in haste that people would regret in the future? Because like, oh, why are people using BIP 47 when we should be saving block space potentially decade from now? But it would get priced out, right?
The mempools are clear, Marty. The mempools are clear. I can't argue both sides. I can. I mean, I am. That's what I do here. That's what I do here at Tales in the Crypt.
When will the mempool be like 100 blocks deep again? Is that our next bet? What if it stays clear for like the next 2 months?
Then everyone should integrate PayNyms. Let's fucking go. Integrate PayNyms and use fucking CoinJoin.
You heard it here first. Implement PayNyms and CoinJoin, more freaks. Open up.
Every spend should be a CoinJoin until the mempools are fucking packed to the fucking gills. Let's fucking go.
I'm trying to think like PayNyms on the Lightning Network. What would it be? Like with Schnorr and PTLCs, you'd have a rendezvous payment path.
You're looking at it the wrong way, Marty. It's just if you could do a fixed text or a QR code. QR code is just an abstraction of text, right?
Yeah.
QR code is just a visual version of text that can be scanned.
Agreed.
So if you could just have fixed text that you can pay in a privacy preserving manner, then that competes with PayNyms. And the two main ones are KeySend, which we have in Sphinx already, and Podcasting 2.0, and LNURL.
Okay. All right, we'll see. We'll see what wins out. Why not use all? Why not both?
And well, PayNyms, the nice thing about PayNyms is you don't need inbound liquidity. So for an auto stacking service, something like Swan, right? Which I've been trying. Swan's working on adding PayNyms. If you had PayNyms support in Swan, you could take a dedicated Samurai device. You take a Pixel 3a that you buy for like $200, right? You install Calyx on it. You remove Google from it and install Calyx on it. Very easy to install Calyx now on a Pixel. You take the PayNym, you give the PayNym to Swan. Then every time it'll auto stack, auto withdraw to a new address on your Samurai wallet. And then ideally it would just automatically coin join, but worst comes to worst, you just press the coin join button, it coin joins, and then you send to cold storage. It's a nice flow. It's a privacy enhancing flow in a KYC environment. Obviously it'd be better if you did no KYC, but in a KYC environment is the most privacy preserving flow. You don't need inbound liquidity. And it's doable today.
Yeah, you provide optionality, which is one thing that we love here at TFTC's optionality. Let's get it going. If you're a developer out there who wants to come on and discuss the trade-offs about BIP 47, I'm genuinely curious to hear, because it makes a lot of sense to me, right? Especially when you factor in like the dissonance and all that good stuff. That like it just inherently, intuitively, having used it, be a samurai, it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, if you're out there, you want to come talk, let's talk. Fast Bitcoins now available in Australia. This is basically you can buy via vouchers and stuff like that online. Correct?
I think they've switched. They're like mostly banking focused now.
With awareness,
they were originally like vouchers like Azteco. I think they do both, but they have Lightning support. They are a KYC service. But I don't think Australia has many options. So it's nice that we have a lot of Australian freaks that are stuck down there because it's a prison state. So now they have another option available to them.
Really is. It's insane what's going on in Australia and Canada and the UK. And probably here, it's probably Australian, Canadian, and English freaks being like, oh, it's crazy. What the fuck's going on over there in America? I just combined all accents there. Oh, it is crazy to see. Like Stefan, he can't get out of the country he couldn't get out for Bitcoin 2021. I think I've told this story before. I had a good friend lived down the street from me in Brooklyn. He was Australian, moved back to Australia during the pandemic with his whole family, got there. It was like, holy shit, mate, this is fucking intense. Left. Now he's back in the U.S. in Texas, just like globetrotting to get away from the Orwellian cattle herding that went on last year, and it hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped. Canada, Australia, the UK,
To our Australian and Canadian friends,
and our British friends.
if we can help in any way to help you get out of your fucking prison state, let us know. Or don't DM me. Keybase, Telegram, Threema, it's all on mattadell.com. I've stopped checking. The DMs are overrun. Don't DM me. The interface is horrible.
You co-sign that. The DMs are overrun, but yeah. Here's hoping we get past this. And here in the U.S., it seems that some of the politicians are beginning to posture differently. Cuomo being one of them, scoffing at the idea of a vaccine passport this week. Seems like they're reading the public tea leaves and adjusting on the fly as they do.
In America, it looks like the vaccine passports will be limited to private companies and private events and stuff.
Yeah, but that's what I say. Like
Yankee Stadium or something.
Yeah, but even Cuomo was like saying yesterday, I think I saw, like, no, we're never going to do that. If you're vaccinated, you're fine. If you're not, that's your risk. I think that's what he said.
I mean, fuck that shit. No one should comply with that shit. If somewhere makes you do that, just say, fuck you, I'm not coming.
Yeah. Honestly, take money, like speak with your money. Don't spend money at places that are going to do that to people. Russell Okun, he wrote a letter to the president of Nigeria, urging them to adopt Bitcoin and seize on the opportunity that lies before Nigeria and its people. Not too long of a letter, only like 8 paragraphs, but yeah, I mean, Russell
Great
had a
letter
in Miami. Yeah, incredible letter that really.
I love Russ. Russ is the fucking man. He's a real one.
And he's thinks very deeply and intently about this stuff. Like when we had a conversation in Miami, I was extremely impressed with just like the breadth of knowledge and the understanding of the particular juncture we find ourselves in this point in time. Like we get the panopticon or we live free. We may be witnessing something that has happened many times throughout history, and many people are just frogs boiling in water, not understanding the urgency that is needed to get away from the dystopian state encroaching on all of our civil liberties. And like we just said, mentioning the vaccine passport in New York, there's beginning to turn tone on that. But did you see like the James Corden, the fuck's her name? Was with some pop star, like just doing some like crazy propaganda skit on getting the vaccine.
Yeah, you posted Clown World.
Yeah, Clown World. I mean
that was.
This is probably going to get us kicked off YouTube, but like held up.
Finally, you admit it.
But it's like it's so weird. Again, theme of the episode. This rip is it's creepy how overt the theater is, and like they're in the street, like on mainstream late night.
But the thing is,
they got Fauci on the thing, and it's like.
But do you think like a directive? Do you think like a directive was sent to him from like the top, or do you think he just has a cuck mentality and knows he gets good engagement from it and believes it and fucking did it? And he had like a celebrity on there with him or whatever, right? They did like a musical representation.
That's who it was.
I love that I don't know who she is. Like I did not recognize her.
I love that I forgot who she was, but no, I'm dismayed that I remembered. But I don't know.
Like, is it state TV or was it just cuck mentality engagement horror?
Like, how do you tell? Because that's what I tend to right now believe that maybe it was what I said it was earlier, somewhere in the middle. I mean, we have literal Freedom of Information Act documents that prove that the 3-letter agencies have leveraged the media to push certain narratives in the past, whether or not this particular skit about the vaccine.
But you see Colbert?
Yeah, right. That was another thing. Jon Stewart on Colbert, but like Colbert was like,
no, not the Jon Stewart part.
No,
Jon Stewart was based about that.
Yeah, no, I didn't. What? That's the only Colbert thing.
Jon Stewart mentioned the Wuhan lab. Like, he made jokes about it being obvious that it was the Wuhan lab.
Yes,
which obviously is not state directive or cuck mentality.
No, that's the Colbert thing I'm aware of. What are you talking?
Colbert opened up live studio audience with vaccine passports. You're only allowed to be there for vaccine, and no one was wearing masks in there because they were all vaccinated. So they had the ability to be there, unlike the unvaxxed hordes or whatever, right?
As I sit here in front of the movie studio where we where we fake the moon landing, like I got like.
But my point is, I think Colbert believes that. Like, I think Colbert was.
I
don't think like he got like a state directive that said, push the vaccines. I think he's like,
maybe
I'm doing this for my city. People should get vaccinated.
Or is there somebody at NBC like above him or CBS, wherever the hell he is?
I don't know.
Like, is somebody above him being like, all right, Steven, like we're gonna get you a live audience, but here's the protocol. No, we don't know. I think it's somewhere in the middle. Like, we do have proof via government documents that have been accessed via the Freedom of Information Act that propaganda campaigns have leveraged mainstream media.
100%.
Yeah. We don't know.
I just think a lot of it is like influencers just having cuck mentalities and just believing it. And then they push that opinion on their audience, obviously.
I mean, there's the concept of the useful idiot. A lot of these people are useful idiots, right?
Like, what about all the people on Twitter that they would post the mask profile picture or the vaccine card?
Right. Again, right? So this goes back to the nudging, the social pressure. It's a form of nudging that equates to coercion slowly over time. You get nudged first, you tweet about like maybe we should wear a mask, and then you change your avatar to you with a mask, and then you get your vaccine sticker, and then it's like if you don't have a vaccine sticker, you're Nazi, you need to be put in a camp.
How did we get to this?
Slowly but surely.
We were talking about Russell Okun article to the Nigerian government, which is a really good article. I just wanted to be clear, and I think Russell agrees, but I think it's important to petition the leaders in the governments because that's the cleanest way. But ultimately, Bitcoin is going to be adopted by the people first, and then governments are going to begrudgingly follow along when they have no choice. Most of these leaders have very little incentive to adopt Bitcoin, and they won't, because they don't want their people to have freedom, and they don't want their people to have money that they can't control. So the people are going to adopt it first, and then they're going to force the hand of the leaders.
Yeah. Well, at least for us has gotten this into the radar of the politicians there, where now they're more incentivized to, or maybe they have less of a reason to fight Bitcoin in the future. It's like, all right, we have documented evidence that Russell recommended that we buy Bitcoin on June 12th, 2021 in July of 2024. And they're like, oh, we didn't even look into this. Nobody was telling us about it. So like, no, we have a letter here. It blew up on the internet. We know you saw it. But he drives a good point. We're early in the nation states accepting Bitcoin stage. Who's going to fall next? And as more dominoes fall, how quickly do new ones fall behind them? We shall see. Maybe none fall at all after this. Do you think the IMF steps in, World Bank steps in, the US government steps in, starts cooing these countries, starts shutting this down?
Part of me wants to predict those things just so they don't happen, based on my prediction record lately.
You should probably just for good juju predict all these things, right? Kidding.
I think they're going to try. I think the IMF and the strong world governments are going to try to stop this movement. And I think if they don't, then we're in the wrong movement,
Agreed. It's coming. And
maybe they're just inept, but wouldn't count on it. If it happens, just be happy.
It's here already. I mean, not here in the here in the United States, it's here in one form or another, but not as intense as what's happening in China. They really are kicking miners out, which seems to be the case. That's an attack on the industry in China. Now, again, looping back to the conversation from earlier about on-grid off-grid, like as these miners begin to migrate out of China into new countries, in Kazakhstan, we're seeing, all right, they're getting there, and then the Kazakhstan government's standing up and saying, there's too many of you, like this is too much. like as they continue to attempt to plug in throughout the world, like how many more of those instances pop up. And, I mean, again, like we're discovering the attack vector as we venture out into the future. And not until the issue is forced, maybe find out how viscerally the governments will fight back. And this mining migration is something that will provide a lot of data over the summer, I think.
Well, I appreciate them attacking miners while no one was using the chain.
You're on the roll today. Everybody listening, go send a transaction. Actually, I don't want to make it.
Go do a coin join. If you've never done a coin join, do your first coin join. You can pay 1 sat per byte. It'll fucking go through.
Well, maybe we should go over that. There was a freak in the Sphinx tribe. Something we should mind. It's a 1,750,000 sat fee to mix a half a Bitcoin in Whirlpool. So if you're going into the 500 million sat Whirlpool, you probably want to be a big dog and do like multiple.
But do you understand how the fees work in Whirlpool?
Yeah, they're tiered, right?
They're flat based on the tier you go into.
Yeah, they're flat based on the tier that you're in. So if you're, like I was saying, if you're going to do a 500 million sat pool coin join, probably want to do.
You mean 50 million?
No, it's half a Bitcoin. Oh yeah,
50 million.
Yeah, 50 million. Why do I have a billion in my head? Yeah, if you're going to do a 50 million sat coin join, you probably want to do at least 400 million.
You want like at least 6 UTXOs to happen afterwards. It's just like my rough number. So if you're doing a half Bitcoin, which is the 50 million sat pool, you're looking at like 3 Bitcoin going in, which is a lot for a test. So go test in the 100,000 sat pool, right? Which is significantly less fee. You do like 6 UTXOs in there. So you come in with like 600,000 sats. And you end up with 6 UTXOs on the other side because it's flat. So if you put a Bitcoin into the 100,000 sat pool, or you put 100,000 sats into the 100,000 sat pool, you're paying the same amount of sats as your fee. So the more that goes in at the same time, the cheaper your percentage fee. And the reason for that is because they're all connected to the same individual. So a good actor that's not malicious, that's not trying to sybil the pool, is going to pay a significantly less amount of money than someone who's trying to run 8 instances at the same time, all sending into the same pool at the same time to try and de-anonymize people. It's a sybil resistance aspect to it. If you're a more advanced user, you can go use Join Market, significantly cheaper, but care about your privacy. Try these things, use the tools, send a Bitcoin transaction to yourself, pay 1 sat per byte, send a transaction to your friend, withdraw from Cash App for the first time.
Download a wallet, Moon Wallet, Blue Wallet, Green Wallet, whatever it may be.
Really liking Moon lately.
I'm still
Green's falling behind. Blue Wallet, Moon, Samurai, obviously, if you're on Android.
You know what we need out there? I was surfing on Tuesday and I was with
Breeze Wallet.
Was with my old boss from the hot dog stand down here, and he's a Bitcoiner now. I've converted him, and he's like my parents' age, and he wants to accept Bitcoin at the hot dog cart. And I'm like, all right, like how can we do this? Like we need like Blue or Moon to easily allow you to plug in like point of sale information. Like I need
Breeze has that.
Okay, Breeze has that. Okay.
So Breeze has a built-in point of sale mode where it's just you can put in point of sale in person and you can just transact if you have an in-person store. Okay.
So we're going with Breeze for the hot dog stand.
100%. Breeze is perfect for that.
Right,
and perfect. If you want to do podcasting 2.0, Breeze is great too.
Yep. All right. I knew, but Breeze, like you need a full node or you need
The negative of Breeze is the Lightning first wallet.
Yeah.
So it's really Lightning transactions only. But if you're selling hot dogs, you shouldn't be selling hot dogs on chain. Well, you're going to want a bunch of UTXOs that are $3.
I agree.
That's what I like about Moon, because Moon puts them both together. You can do on-chain or Lightning. With Breeze, it's Lightning first. The only time you're really using on-chain is if you're withdrawing from Lightning or if you're adding to Lightning.
So how's that look? You just scan the QR code and
For Moon?
Yeah.
With 2 U's, by the way, guys. Until they change their name. Moon with 2 U's. Yeah, you just scan the QR code and they just know and they'll just fucking do it. And if you only have Lightning funds, they'll swap on chain. And if you only have on chain funds, they'll swap into Lightning, do a turbo channel, and they'll just fucking do it.
This is the future. This is the future.
But the user doesn't have to know. You just scan the fucking QR code. Any Bitcoin QR code you scan, except for zero payment Lightning invoice or LNURL, which won't work, Moon will pay it.
I was hearing today that QR codes are not safe, insecure.
No, that's what NVK posted.
I saw that. That's what I'm referencing.
NVK is concerned about people not checking what the QR code is displaying, because a human can't look at a QR code and know what's there. We have no idea what's there.
Maybe one or two out there.
Some autist out there.
Yeah, there's definitely an autist out there who can read QR codes.
You should verify on your screen after you scan anything.
Exactly. So you scan the QR. Rodolfo's worried that you're going to scan it and not look to confirm that the address on your phone is matching the address that the user wants. And
his argument wasn't for payments. His argument was for a cold storage hodl stash.
Yes.
And in that case, if you're he's a little bit biased. I mean, his device uses SD card, but if you're transferring a PSBT, partially signed Bitcoin transaction on a micro SD from cold card, it's plain text. If you open it up, if you open up the file, you can see everything that's in there. It's a text file.
Yeah.
It shows the amounts. It shows everything in there. If you're doing an animated QR code between two devices, let's be honest, you don't really know what's going on between the two devices. It's just showing like flashes of QR codes, and the other side's just reading the QR codes. You don't really know what's going on there.
Can't confirm that in real time.
Right.
I doubt there's anyone on the planet.
The real answer for the hodl stash is multi-device multisig, which we've talked about on this podcast a million times.
Rodolfo would fight you on that.
I don't think he would.
I thought Rodolfo was anti-multisig.
No, he just thinks that it's not necessarily for everyone because complexity is a killer.
I agree. But that is his view.
He doesn't, and I agree. You don't want to rush people into multisig.
No.
But ultimately what we want is as many people to be using multisig, multi-jurisdictional multisig, mixing it with things like he offers like seed XOR, where you like split individual keys as well. So you have multiple seeds, but then also the seeds are multiples. You have the countdown feature that he has on Cold Card now, where you can set it where it takes a week to fucking, after you put the pin in, it takes a week to open your Cold Card.
You have the auto murder puppy sale.
Auto murder puppy sale, RIP, RIP.
Yeah.
Tested that feature out on the poor little puppy sale.
There's levels, as we were explaining earlier. If you've not ever sent Bitcoin to a personal wallet, start practicing. Fees are cheap. Mempools are cleared right now. Or they clear it at this moment. That's the other thing that's weird too. Is like blocks are coming in. They're almost 11 minutes right now. So you think they'd be going up. What is going on? Maybe the Chinese miners that are migrating were making a lot of transactions. Maybe the beauty is we'll never know exactly what it is. Matt, what's going on with the software updates? We haven't had any in like 3 weeks.
They just haven't really. Oh, Electrum should be on this list.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I forgot to put Electrum on the list.
All right, what did they upgrade?
The Android builds are reproducible now.
Ooh, that's a pretty big update.
And the Lightning pathfinding is improved.
Anybody using their Lightning implementation?
I'm not.
I haven't either.
I think a bull market, man, it's just there's not as many big updates that are happening right now, which is fine. I'm getting a little bit tired too.
Pretty boring.
I respect it.
Pretty boring bull market. Right? Or is that just me?
Ben the Carmen saying LND released a few minutes ago. I mean, they should know to release before RHR. But go check that out. I guess there's an LND update. But the updates have been slow just across the board right now.
All right.
I assume a lot of the teams went to Bitcoin Miami too, Bitcoin 2021. There's still 8 things.
Can't work and go to a conference? Back to updating that software. I kid.
But yeah, Electrum got updated. I forgot to put that in the list.
All right. If you're running Electrum, be aware. Please try not to connect to external servers if you can.
Yeah, use your own node.
Use your own node. Find an Uncle Jim. If not, you're probably linking your XPub and your transaction history to a 3-letter agency that's running a node in the cloud, an Electrum server specifically. Bitcoin Beach article in Business Week. I expended all my Bloomberg articles earlier this month, so I was not able to read it. Past the first 3 paragraphs. It seems like a good expose. It's just mainstream coverage of Bitcoin.
It was a good article.
Good
You don't expect that much from Bloomberg when it comes to positive Bitcoin articles, and it's a very important project, Bitcoin Beach. I salute everyone who's been working down there. I look forward to making my pilgrimage down to El Zante, which I haven't done yet.
We're going in November. Definitely, because
But
that's when the season ends, and that's when like the surfing gets good. But between now and then,
you and your lady are going down in November?
I haven't decided yet, but maybe we should. Me, my lady, you and your lady.
Got to make her pilgrimage. Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I do make my pilgrimage, I'm not going to telegraph it 4 months ahead of time. So you'll know a week after I've left.
Okay. Yeah, you're much better at this than me. I didn't realize what I was doing there. Bitcoin Beach. Again, credit where credit is due, Mike. The strike team, everybody working on Galoy, the wallet there as well. The citizens of El Zante, they paved the way for this law, I would argue, right? Like proving that there's interest and there's good energy around the community working on this stuff. I think it definitely got the conversation to a point where I was like, all right, maybe we should consider this. Just a small little surfer town on the coast of El Salvador, pushing Bitcoin forward. What are your thoughts on the whole Bitcoin Beach being sponsored by an anon-rich Bitcoiner?
That guy's such a fucking hater. He's been short Bitcoin publicly since 2014, so he go fuck himself.
Maybe he knew. Maybe he's a time traveler who came back and was like, all right, we need to get a nation state in the game before 2022.
You have all these social justice warriors that just like talk about like fucking freedom and making people have better lives and better opportunities and don't do fucking shit all. And they're just fucking resentful because Bitcoiners are actually doing it in an actionable way that's actually working. Instead of just fucking talking about it loudly on Twitter all the fucking time.
I mean, people think the Twitter fingers are going to do it. You actually have to get out there and
it kills them inside.
It does, and it just proves it's like the fiat standard, right? Like all these people want all the gratification, all the gratitude. They want to get like all the attention for no work. They don't want to do any of the hard work. They want a virtue signal that they care. But when push comes to shove of actually hitting the streets and doing something, very few people are willing to do that. And then so again, the other beauty of Bitcoin is, yes, there is a certain extent to which you have to hit the streets, but there's other things you can do from the comfort of your father-in-law's bedroom that could help push things forward. And people are going after it. Like, again, we're at a critical juncture. We either make this happen or we get fucked into the panopticon. Still dismayed. There's no transactions in the mempool. We have no software updates. Is Bitcoin stagnating?
Is Bitcoin stagnating?
Dead, dude. There's no transactions. There's no software updates on anything going on outside of Electrum.
I'm not fudding Bitcoin when I say I wish the mempools were more full. I just think
he's fudding Bitcoiners. He's saying you're not doing enough. Or
no, I think I think first of all, Bitcoin is not fucking stagnating. Period. End of story on that. As far as the mempools go, I think it's a sign that people are using custodial regulated cuck fucking services. And I There are few shows that will tell you that. So we're that show. Do better.
And a couple others, apparently. But yeah, no, I mean, I think I agree with you there. And like I said in the beginning of the episode, what if there's data, on-chain data? I know you were shitting on on-chain data earlier, but if you could like dissect the new signups on exchanges and on-chain data, people moving to freshly created assets, addresses at amounts that would signal to individuals and not like exchanges and stuff. Is there a education lag that shows up on chain? Like, it could be it, right? Like we were 60,000 in January. If somebody didn't panic dump, maybe they're convicted and looking to learn more. We shall see. We shall see. Got anything else you want to add? Should powwow on.
I'm excited for BitBlock Boom.
I am as well. It's sneaking up on us already, end of August.
That'd be good.
Well, so this is Marty's Owls chirping in the comments. Maybe you were right. Maybe 200K by conference day was just talking about the wrong conference. Is this?
I'm not going to get pulled into this trap again.
Well, hey, this is. What's the worst that could happen? You're wrong twice, and it's like we're back in where we are right now. Or you go down as a legend. Like I was actually talking about BitBlock Boom, not Bitcoin 2021. Little Jew. You freaks know.
Look, I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin. I am literally all in. There's no hedge. There is no fucking hedge. If I am wrong about Bitcoin, I will have generations of descendants will know I was wrong about Bitcoin.
What they say about
they will be like grandfather Matt, grandfather Odell was extremely wrong about Bitcoin.
We had to pick up the shambles he left behind.
But that was the only time I've ever given a concrete price prediction, and I'm just I'm not getting caught in that fucking trap ever again. Like yes, that is not going to happen.
200K by conference day. BitBlock.
It sounds good, it just had a nice ring to it. Fucking Sailor was saying he was going to do a 100K party. I wanted to top him. I wanted to be above him. We had like Scott Minard, who's still fucking with us. He said like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, he's like, prepare for a volatile weekend. And then this week he's like, crypto's the future, which by the way, every time one of these rich guys says crypto or blockchain or digital assets, we're winning.
Yes.
That's our edge. That's our alpha.
Why is that our edge? I mean, we're winning because
it's our edge because that means he's diversifying into like Ethereum and Shiba Inu token and shit. He's not just fucking aping into Bitcoin.
That's
our edge. Our edge is we're aping into Bitcoin.
It's like the Berkshire.
In a humble way.
The Guggenheims of the world.
We're staying humble and we're stacking.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like the egos in the banking and fund space. I could see them watching the DeFi people like, we're replacing you. And they just like try to join them. And they build like even crazy. They're like, you guys thought you guys could build crazy financial products. Wait till the pros get in the game and prove how big of a con it actually is. Matt, 2-hour rip again. Thank you, freaks, for staying with me. I'm a bit under the weather. But I think it was a good one. There's a lot going on. It's a little quiet on the software front. Blinders, freaks.
Supposedly there was a Spectre update, which I did see come through the wire, but there was no release notes. And did you meet the third best Ben Kaufman?
I did not.
In Miami?
Apparently was waiting in line the whole time.
So I got fucking wrecked with Ben multiple nights in a row.
Hey, he's underage.
And I mean, we didn't drink at all. We just got wrecked on Bitcoin. We were just talking about Bitcoin. And he's of age in Israel, where he's from. I think they're adding liquid to it, which, one of the biggest liquid shills in the business. But
you're a big liquid shill. Are you
Not
paying?
really relevant in a no mempool environment at all
Are you the,
whatsoever.
are you the blockstream spook that has infiltrated TFTC? Are you the spook?
I'd be a great spook. People should assume that I am one.
I tell everybody that. I'm worried Matt's a spook. He'd be a great one.
Marty would be a fantastic spook too.
I'm giving away the conspiracies. I'm on the set of the moon landing and just telling people we did it. I'm the worst FBI agent there ever is. Never was.
I can't believe you just called me out for Ben being underage. It was an honor meeting him. Look, he gave me one of the original Spectre DIYs, which is hilarious because I didn't DIY. Like it's supposed to be do it yourself, but it was done by someone else. But it was still an honor.
How do you know that's not like a ledger scammer?
I haven't plugged it in.
It's Ben a ledger scammer.
It was still an honor though that he gave it to me.
Yeah, Ben's a legend. I'm bummed we didn't get to meet in person. I'm trying to remember if we did, so I don't sound like an asshole like we did meet. I'm pretty sure we did.
At one point at my Miami Citadel, we had 5 Bens in the Airbnb.
Were they trying to alpha each other?
The key is you had to tell each of them that they're the best Ben.
You pit them against each other. Yeah. This is how you pit people against each other. You tell them all, hey, you're the best, man. You're the best Ben there is.
Maybe I am the spook. I can't believe I did that. It was fun.
Whoa. Ben. Yeah, I mean, legal in Israel. I think that reciprocates once you come here. I'll just say it does. What else should we be aware of?
I mean, this was a good rip, Marty.
It's a good rip. What do you think about the U.S. Open?
I'm rooting for our boy. We have a Bitcoiner in the Open.
Nick Batia's cousin, I believe.
I don't know. They share the same last name. I don't ask those kind of questions. We're Bitcoiners. We're not supposed to ask age, location, relationship.
Yeah. All right. I'm cheering for Batia in the U.S. Open. Let's go.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah. That's a rip this week. Moon landing happened right here.
I love you, freaks. Stay humble, stack sats.
Peace and love. Wait, still streaming.